Okay. Why don't you tell us who you are?
Gary Leaf. I'm currently on the board of Minfish, and we do hunting and angling related issues and projects and funding. We do fish hatcheries and all that. But I think you want to talk about the Legacy Amendment back in 2000. It's really the Legacy Amendment. The constitutional amendment was modeled after what's in Missouri. They passed a 1934. They passed a Citizen Governance Council over the natural resources. And then in 1976, they passed a 1/8 conservation measure there. And there was a senator here who first passed a constitutional right to hunt and fish in '98, and then started an effort to pass a dedicated funding 1/8 bill, just like they have down there. That evolved over the course of about 8 years. And then we finally got a bill. It was a 3/8 bill. The 1/8 piece with a 33% for the Outdoor Heritage Fund really never changed, other than we made some changes with how they do it in Missouri. In Missouri, their sales tax is dedicated to their DNR and then distributed. What we did here in 2007, when to get the Lessard Council, was named after the original author, and Dallas Sams, who was from the Alexandria area, were two of the major authors that carried those bills in the late stages. And then we got the change we made here was to make the Citizen Governance Council open and competitive, so you could have all kinds of projects from different people come in. So when it first started, we had a ton of the NGOs, well, not a ton, but a lot of them, from the Nature Conservancy, the Pheasants Forever, Ducks Unlimited, all those groups, Grouse Society, Minnesota Deer Hunters, all these kinds of different groups coming in for projects that they developed. And then it developed where U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service was allowed to come in. So they came in and did waterfowl production areas. And then, so that was, the original first years of the bill were somewhere around 70 million. And then over time, the sales tax remained the same. And then that's increased to 180 million just on this segment, and there's 4 segments. So you got 33% that goes to Fish, Game, and Wildlife. You have 33% that goes to the Clean Water Fund, which is financially as significant as the Outdoor Heritage Fund. Then you have a fraction that goes to the arts, and then a fraction that goes to parks and trails. Mm-hmm. So there's 4 elements of it. And the symposium we're at here, this one is mainly the conservation of Fish, Game, and Wildlife Fund, and what kind of projects are funded, ranging from, big forestry projects. I think the largest one was an easement on 180,000 acres, which is a large in northern Minnesota conservation easement. Then a lot of acquisition, restoration projects, trout stream restoration, dam removal for fish passage, and it's extraordinarily broad. And I think looking back on '07, it's actually working better than what you could have forecasted it to work.
Yeah.
The projects are just were unforeseeable. The project we did, Minfish, or worked on in the last year, was about a $13 million project for invasive carp, the flying carp barrier on Lock and Dam 5, which was being funded by the Lessard Council, and we're the only state in the U.S. that's proactively trying to keep flying invasive carp and other things out of the state. Because if you got them in here, and Lake Pepin would be the first, it'd be a way more expensive problematic than common carp, which they haven't found an easy answer on common carp. Now we're going to add in these things. So it's kind of we're being proactive. So we're funding things that would never have been funded from a conservation perspective. The acquisitions are all open to the public taking fish and game. So the younger anglers, hunters, outdoor enthusiasts will have land available to them, so they can get out, because they can't afford land. They might not come from a farm background, they don't have relatives or whatever, so creating opportunity.
Absolutely. What do you think the future of this funding is? Well, how are we kind of at a tipping point? Do you think it's
Well, it's going to increase probably because, depending on the economy, it'll likely increase the amount of it. When they originally passed it, they put a sunset provision in there, which is 25 years. So in 8 years, I think it is roughly, then there'll be an effort by groups, hopefully a year or two before that, to start to get it reauthorized on the ballot, you know. And back then when we were doing it, a lot of people didn't think we'd be able to get it to pass. Gas prices were high, blah, 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 and you know, it did. And I think there's more people today that understand how it worked. Back then, they couldn't envision how it might work as well. Now you have all these, you don't have to hear me talk about it or anybody talk about it. You can go to a project, and some of the projects that we've seen yesterday are quite amazing. They did very early in 2010, they did a $2.5 million project on Lake Christina that lowers the water level so to deal with the common carp problem and the turbidity and everything else in that. So it's doing projects, like I said, 90% would never ever see the light of day. We're doing a lot of easements. John Jaski just came in, he's with Bowser. So we've got all the agencies. I think most of the people would say, you know, we don't want to take it for granted because it can go away in 8 years, you know. So people are going to have to decide if they want to have it reauthorized, you know, and they have to talk about it. And if I had to come back then and say what I'd say, it met our expectations. You know, the money went where we said it would go.
Yeah, and you talk about, with investment, you talk about return on investment.
Yeah,
that's return on investment right there, right?
And then you got to go back to voters and say, we had voters around here, sportsmen around here that told me, said, don't even bother coming back unless we have a citizen governance council on it. He also told me a lot of sportsmen in that are wealthy enough. I don't need any public land. This public land, we need this public land for the kids and you know, others coming through the system.
Yeah.
We need to attempt to make conditions better for the next generations, because they got a lot of, you'll hear a lot of stories about a lifetime of personal satisfaction out of outdoor related activities, fishing, hunting, whatever they may do. And we used to spend a lot of time at, let's say, Cabela's. They come in as families.
Yeah.
They don't, you know, and so it's a lifestyle, you know, and we got a lot of great places in Minnesota, you know, from an outdoors perspective, should be funded and stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
we're pretty lucky. We're pretty lucky.
Yep.
Two more questions, and I'll let you get back to the summit. One, when you are you a bird hunter?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what, in your opinion, when we're talking about all this duck habitat, all the topics that we're talking about here, trying to figure out why ducks are declining, what do you think the most important thing we need to focus on is?
Well, I think we do need to take a look at on a number of things. For example, deer hunting, we need to take a look at the amount of hunting pressure. It's different when I started. I mean, we used to start, I believe it was after sunset, a half an hour, and end at 4 o'clock. I mean, there's a limited amount of birds, and they need resting spots. So I'd probably, versus when I was younger, see why the refuges are so important.
Yeah.
And I've hunted in North Dakota so a number of times, and you can talk to the local people there, and oh geez, don't go over there and hunt, you'll disrupt the roost. You know, so they're trying to get birds some rest, and you know, so I think it's mainly focused. I think that'll be mainly the outcome that'll come out of this, is, you know, for DNR. With the sport, if people, you know, people don't want to do it, you know, I mean, that's up to them. But you know, you can't shoot the amount of duck shot in different areas differently, you know. So we might have to do something more on the hunting on the regulatory side. But on the habitat side, it's I don't know where we would get any more money to do anything. I mean, if you went over there with the legislative proposals, they'll tell you already got the legacy amendment. We're not, you know. So it's tough to get any more money. There is some bonding and some different projects, but nothing significant that compares to what this does.
But you said we got 8 more years, right?
Yeah.
We got 8 more years to campaign for the next go-around.
Yeah,
Yeah. Absolutely.
And a great way of campaigning is the projects themselves. And a lot of these projects, even back then, was that, look, all stole a term from politics, but all conservation's local. So if you have, irregardless, even the grants program, the small grants program, it has money available with a matching grant. that you go, and a banquet has purpose. You raise money, get some other groups together, and you can do a project that wouldn't have gotten done. Get the banker, the car dealer, all that, develop things locally and stuff like that. So there's a way for even small sportsmen's clubs or different associations at the local level, you know, that it already are. They're already doing that. But I mean, that's what you want to have happen, and that's kind of a campaign in and of itself.
Sure. And then my last question: your greatest day of bird hunting ever? And it doesn't have to be ducks. It doesn't have to be Minnesota. Just the one day that stands out to you.
Between two of them. I grew up in Bloomington, so I used to hunt on a lake down there called Long Meadow Lake. It's now U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. It was leased out by the Minneapolis Gun Club. It's on 494, just as you go across the river down there is where Long Meadow Lake was. And we go down there and hunt. And I used to see clouds of mallards coming in there at all different levels sometimes, where you just go, you had to not even want to shoot because you just wanted to watch it. And that was when I was younger. The other ones were many of the experiences in North Dakota, you know, where we hunted over by, let's say, Bismarck or whatever it was, and you'd have within the same 3-4 hour period of time a whole range of different ducks, and then go sharp-tail hunting, and then go pheasant hunting. You know,
that's what I do.
So I kind of like diverse. You know, and pintails. I don't know. I don't think I ever shot a pintail in Minnesota.
Yeah.
You know, I only shot them in North Dakota.
Yeah.
So I mean, some of them I did see. At canvasbacks over there. You know, so it's tough. It's different experiences, and who you're with is a big deal too. I had some great, a long time ago, I had some great bluebill shoots on Leech Lake. You could practically put a boat in the middle when it was really cold. You'd wear Sorel snowmobile boots and mittens out there because it's 30 degrees temperature, and then with the air, you know, it's below zero. You know, or not below zero, but I mean, it's cold. It's really cold. But some great shoots on there too.
Great. Well, thanks for your time. I appreciate it.